everybody. Welcome to Busy Garden Life. This morning, I am going to make some maple syrup peach jam. So I bought some more peaches because we love them so much. And I thought, well, why not make some jam first? And I want to use our maple syrup that we made over the winter as for the sugar portion of it, as opposed to just regular sugar. So today I want to show you how we're going to do that. So I have my peaches here nice and washed. These are about 12 pounds. It was a 12-pound box. We don't need all of it for the peaches, so what I'm going to do with the extra is I'm just going to can them like I did before. So we kind of start with the same process as we would with just canning the peaches, and you want to score the bottom of the peaches. Just make a nice little X in the bottom of them. And this will help during our peeling process. So in order to peel them, we're going to do a lot of the same method as we do for canning peaches, which is why you can can them in addition to making the jam. So what that is basically we're going to take it over to the stove and we're going to blanch them and throw them in hot water, cold water after that. And the peels will come right off. Kind of do the same thing with your tomatoes when you're doing tomato dicing or whole tomatoes, or if you need to peel them in general for sauces, salsas. Same thing, you want to make the score marks in the bottom. Super quick and easy. It allows it just to peel right off. All right, so let's finish these, and then we are going to take them over to the stove for blanching. All right, so we're just going to finish these up here. Now, if you don't want to can any peaches and you're just into this for the jam, you're going to want 8 cups of crushed peaches, which should be 20 to 24 peaches is my guess. I don't really know. I just kind of go with the flow and figure it out. But if you're looking on a measurement scale for it, I would say 20 to 24 peaches will yield about 8 cups of crushed peaches in order for you to get 8 pints of jam. All right, so let's take these over to the stove and get them blanched. Okay, so I have my little workstation over here. We have a pot of water getting to a boil. We want to get to a boil. I have my bowl with ice, cold water, and then our scored peaches. So really all we're going to do is blanch them in the water for about 30 seconds, put them into the ice water, and then put them back on our tray and just kind of rotate through until they've all been blanched so that we can peel them super easy. All right, so our blanching process is done. I'm over here with the peaches. I have a bowl of 8 cups of water, and I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of this fresh fruit preserve. This is just going to keep the peaches from turning brown. Now, you could just use lemon juice. If you don't have fresh fruit preserve on hand, you could use lemon juice. But I kind of like the fresh fruit preserve. It worked really well for my canned peaches. So I'm just going to mix that around there. We have quite a bit of peaches. Hopefully they'll fit in one bowl. If not, then we'll have to make another bowl of that. But all we're going to do is go ahead and start peeling them. I had my daughter help me when I did the sliced peaches, which went a lot faster, but she's still sleeping. She's in middle school now, and they have to be to the bus at 6:45 in the morning, and she's not very good at getting up in the morning and getting going. She's kind of like me. I like to just take my time in the morning, so on the weekends we kind of just let her sleep in and get caught up on that sleep that she's missing during the week. So we peel them and then slice them. If you haven't seen my little short on slicing peaches, I'll demonstrate it right now for you. So basically all I do is take those 4 score marks that we had, and I just run my knife down the pit, making 8 slices. So along the score mark and then in between. And look at how easy it just kind of falls off, and they're great slices there. You're not wasting any peach at all. Like, it's just pretty much the pit and that's it. Need a separate bowl for the pits. That's for my chickens over there. Put it in this cup. All right, so we're just gonna get going on peeling and pitting the peaches. Super quick and easy. I'm just doing all of this at once, and then when I'm ready, because I'm canning the remainder of them, then when I'm ready, I will just measure out my 8 cups of peaches. I'll dice them pretty fine and kind of crush them up a little bit and put them into my pot for boiling or for making the jam. And then we'll just can the rest of the peaches. But I'm going to do all of them right now, and then that way I can measure it afterwards. All right, and once you get to this point as well, I wanted to make note is make sure that you have your jars in the oven, or however you're going to use them. Have them, in your water bath canner. That's what I used to do, but lately I've been really enjoying just keeping them in the oven and keeping them warm that way. It's actually kind of nice. So make sure that you have them warming up. Your water bath canner should be on the stove, getting that water nice and warm to a simmer so that it's not boiling, but warm enough to put the hot jars in. You want to make sure that all of that is kind of ready to go. That way you're not, just waiting around when you have the jam. When you get that jam, you want to kind of get them in the jars and get them in the canner right away. So I have my oven going and my water bath canner on the stove, getting warmed up and ready as I'm peeling and getting the peaches ready to go. So just be mindful of that as you're doing this portion. Everything can kind of come up to temperature while you're doing the busy work. All right, so let's get these done, and then I will meet you back here in order to chop them up and measure them out. All right, so I just have 2 more peaches here to do. And then we'll be ready to chop them up or crush them up and get them on the stove. So now you could do traditional peach jam if you wanted to with sugar. I'm doing the maple syrup because it's unique and it is so good. Just gives it another rich flavor. We made maple syrup this year for the first time, and it's so good. My kids enjoy it. It's a fun process of collecting the sap every day to see how much you have or how much you get, and then it's amazing how much it just boils down. You get buckets and buckets, 5-gallon buckets of sap, and then it really doesn't make as much syrup as you would think. So it's a really cool process. I'll have to post a video of that this year so you guys can see how we went through that and made that process. So, all right, so this is our last peach. I did end up getting 2 bowls, so I'm gonna let these ones soak a little bit longer in that fruit preserve so that they don't brown. And then I'm going to grab my other bowl. That bowl is really, really full. It's a smaller bowl. All right, so let's grab these ones here. I'm gonna get a bigger knife. Wipe off my board of any extra peels here. Okay. Get a bigger knife. And I have my measuring cup. So we need 8 cups of crushed or chopped peaches. Now you could chop them up as big or small as you want to as you're doing this process. I like them a little bit smaller just because it is jam. You don't want them too big. You could kind of chop them with a knife and then take a potato masher if you wanted to and chop them up even more. You could just use your knife and go different directions. You can measure out a little bit extra than the 8 cups, and then when you put them in the bowl, your pan over here, you can mash them a little bit more that way. I usually just put a little extra when I do that because it'll go down a little bit more. All right, so we're just gonna keep going here. So I have a ways to go. We're on our first 2-cup batch. We have to do 4 of those. But they chop pretty quickly. So I just like to slice them, give them a rough chop, and then put them in there. A couple more and we'll reach our 2-cup mark. All right, so I'm just finishing up my last bit here. I have a lot of peaches left. I thought maybe I'd be using about, 2/3 of the peaches that were in that box, but I maybe used half. So I guess that's preserving math. Sometimes just the size of the peaches or size of your fruit and vegetables is bigger than what it calls for, and that's it. That's all right because my kids will eat the canned peaches. I do have 12 half pints in the oven instead of just 8. It's only supposed to make 8, but I always feel like a lot of times when I make jam, it always ends up being a little bit more than what the recipe says. So I always do a couple extra pints just to make sure that I'm getting it all. So we're just gonna kind of come in here with a potato masher, just crush them up a little bit more. It doesn't have to be too much. I just like them a little bit more finer. They will cook down a little bit too as you're boiling it, but there's also nothing like some fresh peaches on top of your toast. Some nice peach chunks. Delicious. All right, that should be good. It's still pretty chunky. I don't know if I can get you to take a look. Still kind of chunky in there, but crushed up pretty nicely. So that's probably going to make more than 8 pints. And I got Christopher over here just eating the peaches out of the bowl, which is fine. At least I know they're healthy for you. Better than candy, right? All right, so let's take this over the stove and we're going to start making the actual jam. Okay, so we're over here. We're going to turn our stove on because we're going to need to bring it to a boil here. And we're first just going to add 1 cup of our maple syrup. For total, we're going to need 3.5 cups. So I'm using up a lot of our maple syrup today. So hopefully next year we'll get even more maple syrups. We only got like 12 of these jars this year, so it wasn't as much as we thought. Oop. So we're gonna have to do a lot of replenishing after this, but that's okay. All right, so we're gonna start by adding 1 cup of the maple syrup. And then we're gonna add in 1.5 boxes of the Sure Gel for use with less sugar or no sugar. Because the sugar content's a little bit different in the maple syrup, we need to use the low to no sugar recipe. So sometimes a half is very difficult to measure, but we'll try. We'll do our best. There we go. Maybe a little bit more. And just start to mix it all together. Now we want to bring this to a nice boil and boil it for a good 5 minutes to get that pectin to kind of start doing its work. And then at that point in time, we'll add the rest of our syrup. And then I'm gonna put a little bit more of the fruit preserves on there too, just to make sure, because since we chopped them up and we're getting more of the inside of the peach, we wanna make sure that it keeps its nice, pretty color. You're gonna have a little bit of the maple syrup color in there, but you want those bright peaches to kind of still pull through from the maple syrup. So now again, you could use lemon juice instead of adding this to your jam, you could add lemon juice as well. The lemon juice is mainly just for the color, not the taste. All right, so let's get this heat going. Try to bring it up to a boil. You can see our pot over here is steaming pretty good, so that's ready. Our jars are in the oven, so those are getting there. There we go, that's a quick boil. All right, so when it starts to come to boil, we want to just kind of keep stirring it. We want to make sure that it's at a good boil where you can't stir it down very well. I can stir it down right now, so. It's boiling really good. We're going to let it go for a good 5 minutes here. And then we're going to add the rest of our syrup or fruit preserves and then can them. Can it. Make sure that you're stirring it pretty much consistently. You don't want any to stick to the bottom. You want to just kind of move it all around. So make sure that you don't just walk away and let it boil on its own. All right. That has been going for a while now. Woo! Now we're going to add in the rest of the syrup. So we need 3.5 cups total, so we need another 2.5 cups. All right. And then I'm just going to sprinkle this on top. There's not much left, so. All right, now we want to bring this back up to a boil and allow it to boil for 1 more minute. While it's kind of doing that, I'm going to grab some of these jars. Gotta find my ladle. So this is what I mean when it says like a boil you can't stir down. It's boiling pretty good. So can I see that? And if I stir it, it's still boiling through the spoon. So that's what you want. All right, and that has been a minute there. Nice and, woo! We're splattering. All right. I'm gonna turn the heat off. I'm gonna get the jars out and get my ladle, and we're gonna start canning this. right, we got our jars, and now we're just gonna start ladling into our jars. You want about a 1/2 inch of headspace there. Okay, lids on, bands are on, fingertip tight. We're gonna put, these all should fit in here. I'm gonna start bringing it up to, you want the water on top of your water bath canner, or on top of the cans, to be at least 1 inch above it. So once we get all the jars in here, we'll check just to make sure. It can be more than that, but it can't be less than that. Okay. Yep, more than 1 inch, so we are good to go. They're all kind of packed in there nice and snug, 12 half pints. We're gonna bring it up to a boil, cover it, and it really only has to go 5 minutes. I usually go a little bit longer because I get distracted cleaning up and ends up being a little bit more than 5 minutes, even with the timer, but 5 to 10 minutes is just perfect for this. It doesn't have to take long. So we're gonna let it come to boil, process, take them out, and let them cool. All right, the time has come. Our processing is done. Look at how beautiful that is. Again, make sure that you're setting your hot jars on a towel. And hopefully we'll hear a couple pops that they're sealing as we're doing this. It's the best sound. And 12, that is it. Look at our lovely job. Now, this is gonna be so good, especially on toast. If you haven't tried it, try it. You don't have to use homemade maple syrup, but use a good quality maple syrup if you want to do this recipe. I highly recommend it. It's fantastic. All right, so until next time, when we are doing more preserving, get those notifications by hitting that subscribe button, and you will see what we have up our sleeve for the rest of the season. We'll see you soon. Oh.
If you want to know how to make maple syrup,
I did say that. I did earlier today when you were sleeping. I said, we'll post our maple syrup video when we do it this year. We'll see you next time.